The voice is too close, too clear. Another whisper, softer. You shouldn't be here. The air grows heavier. The lantern flickers violently. Shadows stretch, bending unnaturally toward him. From the corner of the room, something begins to take form, its edges blurred, its presence cold and unyielding. The scholar stumbles back as the light falters, darkness envelops the room. The faint light of the lantern returns, trembling in the cold, heavy air. The room is silent except for the soft creak of the floorboards beneath his feet. The figure stands closer now, her form clearer yet unearthly. Her tattered robes drift weightlessly, and her sorrowful gaze pierces through the flickering light. Why are you here? She asks, her voice soft but carrying an unnatural echo. The scholar's breath catches as he stammers, I needed shelter. She tilts her head, her expression unreadable, as the room seems to shift around them, the shadows twisting as if alive. This is no shelter, she whispers, her tone heavy with sorrow. It is a grave. The lantern flickers violently, the flame shrinking as if consumed by the darkness surrounding her. The scholar stumbles back, his heart pounding as the shadows creep closer. The figure's presence grows colder, her form flickering between the visible and the unseen. The last thing he hears before the light extinguishes completely is. The lantern's flame vanishes, plunging the room into suffocating darkness. The scholar's breath quickens as the cold thickens, pressing against his skin like unseen hands. Silence stretches too long, then a slow creak echoes from above. His pulse pounds as the ceiling groans, something shifting in the rafters. The air stirs, carrying the faint rustling of fabric, a presence unseen but suffocating. He grips the lantern tightly, his fingers trembling. A whisper slips through the dark, curling around him like mist. You should not have woken it. The floor quakes beneath him, a gust rattles the broken window, and the ceiling creaks again. This time, something descends. The air sharpens, heavy with a presence that does not belong to the living. He is not alone. The impact never comes. Silence stretches before a sharp gasp escapes as the scholar stumbles forward, his feet skidding against old wood. The ghost is gone. His chest heaves, the momentum of the chase still burning in his muscles. A single candle flickers to life ahead, casting a soft, golden glow. Something is wrong. The house, once abandoned and decayed, is now whole. The walls gleam with fresh lacquer, the murals vibrant, the scent of incense and fresh tea curling through the air. No dust, no rot, only an unsettling stillness. His fingers twitch against his robes as his eyes dart to the ceiling, the floor, the doorway that no longer exists. Footsteps sound, soft, deliberate. He turns sharply, and she is there. No longer tattered, her robes flow like liquid silk, her hair adorned with golden pins. Her dark eyes meet his, unreadable, patient, waiting. His breath catches. Where am I? His voice is barely a whisper. The ghost tilts her head, a slow, knowing smile curving her lips. Home. The candle's light vanishes, swallowing the room in total darkness. The scholar's breath quickens as the air thickens, pressing in on all sides. A chill snakes down his spine as he turns, searching for an exit that no longer exists. The walls feel closer now, the space around him shrinking. A whisper, calm and inescapable, breaks the silence. You belong here. A flicker of movement. The ghost is no longer across the room. She is beside him. Her presence looms, unshaken, her dark eyes watching as he steps backward, his foot catching against the edge of a woven rug. He stumbles. The floor beneath him shifts, no longer aged wood, but smooth, polished stone. The scent of incense grows stronger, curling through the air like unseen hands. His vision blurs, his surroundings warping as shadows pulse around him. The moment he steadies himself, another voice rises, led beneath hers, a chorus of whispers, overlapping, surrounding him. A deep shudder rolls through the house, as if the very found. A sudden force grips the scholar's chest, cold, unseen, unrelenting. His breath catches as the air thickens, pressing against his ribs like invisible hands. His feet slide backward, the polished stone beneath him shifting as if the ground itself is alive. The whispers grow louder, overlapping in an unintelligible murmur, voices from nowhere and everywhere. His hands claw at the empty air, struggling for balance. Then, a violent pull, his body is yanked forward. The space around him bends, warping like fabric caught in a storm. The scent of incense burns his lungs as the walls stretch and twist, blurring past him. The world is unraveling. He stumbles, nearly falling, but a hand, cold, delicate, unyielding, grabs his wrist. He jerks his head up. The ghost stands before him, her grip firm, her dark eyes locked onto his. No longer sorrowful. No longer distant. "You cannot leave," she says, her voice clear now, steady. Final, the whispers fall silent. The entire house seems to hold its breath. The scholar plunges into a void, his body weightless as the world distorts around him. Shadows twist, stretching into infinity, their whispers merging into a deafening silence. Then, impact. He lands hard, but the floor beneath him is not solid stone, it pulses, shifting under his touch as though alive. His breath is ragged as flickering shapes emerge from the darkness, blurred figures moving within shifting veils of shadow. A voice, no longer a whisper but a command, cuts through the stillness. "You have seen too much." A surge of darkness rushes toward him. He scrambles to his feet, his steps heavy, the ground rippling as though unseen hands are grasping at his ankles. He runs. The walls close in, the air thick with something unseen pressing against his skin. Then, ahead, the ghost stands motionless, waiting. Their eyes meet, and she speaks, her voice calm, absolute. "You were never meant to leave." The shadows collapse inward. The darkness shatters, and the scholar is hurled forward, his feet slamming onto solid ground. He stumbles, breath ragged, as the world around him twists into focus. The shadows retreat, revealing towering stone walls lined with flickering candles. The scent of incense is thick, pressing against his lungs like a weight. He grips the cold floor beneath him, smooth, polished, carved with strange symbols. This is no longer the ruined house. A heavy presence lingers in the air. He turns sharply, she is there. No longer a faded spectre, no longer shrouded in sorrow. Her robes flow, untouched by time, embroidered with golden threads. Her face is sharp, regal, her gaze unyielding. "It is time you understand," she says, her voice steady, final. Behind her, massive doors swing open, spilling golden light into the chamber. The scholar hesitates. The ghost does not move, the path is clear. He has no choice but to walk forward. Golden light explodes, engulfing the space. The scholar shields his eyes as power surges past him. When the light fades, he gasps, the ruined house is gone. A vast moonlit courtyard appears, surrounded by towering stone pillars engraved with glowing symbols. The air is cold, heavy with unseen energy. Behind him, doors slam shut, vanished, replaced by an unbroken wall. A chilling laugh echoes. He turns. A figure stands at the far end, tall, draped in crimson robes. Lord Zhao. His hollow eyes gleam, lips curled in an amused sneer. "Did you think you could run forever, scholar?" The scholar's pulse pounds. The vampire raises his hand, fingers flexing like claws. Then, he moves, too fast. Lord Zhao explodes forward, a blur of crimson and shadow. The scholar barely dodges as razor-sharp claws slice through the air, the force sending a shockwave past his face. Another strike, faster. He stumbles back, his foot catching uneven stone. A mistake. Lord Zhao smirks. A powerful backhand slams into the scholar's chest, launching him backward. He crashes into a glowing stone pillar, ancient symbols ignite on impact, pulsing with energy. Gasping, he struggles to rise, pain surging through his body. Lord Zhao approaches, slow, deliberate. "This is no place for the weak," he taunts. The scholar grips his robe, forcing himself to stand. His vision swims, but he does not flee. Lord Zhu tilts his head, amused. Again, he commands. The battle is far from over. The scholar grits his teeth and lunges forward. Lord Zhu smirks, expecting another desperate attempt to flee. But this time, it's different. The scholar twists mid-step, revealing a hidden talisman in his hand. A flash of silver, then impact. The glowing seal slams against the vampire's chest, and a burst of blinding light erupts on contact. Lord Zhu snarls, recoiling as smoke rises from his burning flesh. His crimson robes whip violently as he staggers back, his eyes flickering with fury. The scholar breathes heavily, gripping another talisman, refusing to falter. The vampire's amusement is gone. His lips curl into a snarl. His eyes darken. Then, he vanishes. The scholar's pulse hammers. Where? A rush of wind. A whisper at his ear. You should have run. The moment he turns, claws flash toward his throat. The scholar jerks back as razor-sharp claws flash past his throat, missing by inches. A gust of wind follows. Lord Zhu is moving too fast, a blur of crimson in the moonlight. The scholar stumbles, his breath sharp, his mind racing. He grips a second talisman, but before he can raise it, the vampire appears behind him. A clawed hand clamps onto his shoulder, cold, crushing. Lord Zhu leans in, his voice a whisper of death. Your tricks won't save you. The scholar reacts on instinct. He twists, slamming the talisman against the vampire's wrist. A burst of light explodes, sending Lord Zhu reeling back. His snarl echoes through the courtyard, smoke rising from his scorched skin. The scholar pants, his body tense, knowing he has only seconds before the vampire strikes again. Lord Zhu's eyes burn with fury as the smoke curls from his scorched wrist. The scholar steadies himself, gripping another talisman, but the vampire moves first. A blur of crimson, then impact. A brutal strike crashes into the scholar's chest, sending him skidding across the stone floor. He gasps, pain surging through his ribs as he struggles to rise. Lord Zhu stalks forward, his presence suffocating. You amuse me, he sneers. But you are still prey. The scholar's fingers tremble as he pulls out his last talisman. The vampire smirks. Your last trick? In a blink, he vanishes. The scholar spins frantically, scanning the shadows. Silence. Then, a whisper behind him. Too slow. Clawed fingers clamp around his throat. The talisman glows in his grip, but will he have time to use it? The scholar gasps as Lord Zhu's clawed fingers tighten around his throat. His feet barely touch the ground as the vampire lifts him effortlessly, cold eyes burning into his. Pathetic, Lord Zhu sneers, tightening his grip. The scholar's vision blurs, the courtyard spinning around him. His fingers tremble, the talisman pulsing weakly in his grasp. He has seconds left. Gathering his strength, he thrusts the glowing charm against the vampire's arm. A burst of energy erupts on contact. Lord Zhu snarls in pain, his grip loosening just enough. The scholar twists, kicking off the vampire's chest, breaking free. He stumbles back, coughing, clutching his throat. The vampire glares at him, smoke rising from his burned flesh. You fight like a dying man, he growls. The scholar straightens, his breaths ragged but steady. He tightens his grip on his last talisman. This fight is not over. Lord Zhu lunges, fury twisting his features. The scholar grips his final talisman, waiting, one chance, one moment. The vampire moves, too fast. Claws slice through the air, aiming for the scholar's heart. At the last second, the scholar pivots. His talisman slams into Lord Zhu's chest. A blinding surge of light erupts, cracking through the vampire's body. Lord Zhu screams, his form contorting as golden energy burns through him. The symbols on the stone pillars ignite, reacting to the purification. His robes smolder, his flesh breaking apart like ash caught in the wind. He thrashes, reaching for the scholar, but his body is already crumbling. With a final, enraged howl, Lord Zhu disintegrates into nothing. Silence falls. The scholar staggers back, breathless, the talisman's light fading in his palm. The vampire is gone. The battle is over. But something still lingers in the air, the feeling that this was only the beginning. Silence settles over the courtyard. The air is thick with dust, the glowing symbols on the stone pillars dimming one by one. The scholar exhales, his body trembling from exhaustion. His grip loosens, and the last talisman crumbles into faint embers. The fight is over. But the night still lingers, heavy with something unseen. He straightens, scanning the courtyard. Lord Zhu is gone, yet the space feels no less haunted. His fingers brush his throat where the vampire's claws had been, a lingering chill crawling over his skin. Then, a whisper. Not from the wind. From the shadows. He turns sharply. The flickering torches cast strange shapes against the walls. Someone is watching. The scholar steadies himself, his instincts sharp. He is not alone. The courtyard is quiet, the echoes of battle fading into the cold night air. The scholar stands motionless, his breath steady but his body aching. The once glowing pillars are now dark stone, their energy drained. The fight is over. But something feels different. He lifts a hand to his hair, short, uneven, hastily cut. The weight that once rested on his shoulders is gone. He is not the same man who walked into this battlefield. He has changed. A soft rustling cuts through the silence. Not the wind. His eyes flick to the shadows. Someone is there. Watching. He does not flinch, does not step back. He only listens. Beyond the courtyard, the path stretches into the mist, leading into the unknown. The scholar takes one last look at the place where he fought, where he survived. Then, without hesitation, he walks forward. The mist thins as the scholar walks, the mountain path leading to the faint glow of lanterns in the distance. A village. Beyond its rooftops, nestled against the cliffs, stands a solitary temple, its incense smoke curling into the night sky. His grip tightens around the jade hairpin in his palm. Her last memory. The weight of it feels heavier now, not just an object, but a promise unfulfilled. He steps into the village, past quiet homes where the world continues as if untouched by battle. His destination is clear, the temple. The monk within may hold the answers he seeks. The sound of a bell chimes through the mist. His time is running out. The scholar kneels before the altar, his gaze steady. The jade hairpin rests in the monk's hands as incense smoke thickens around them. The final chants begin. The monk speaks, his voice calm yet heavy. To bring her back, you must walk the path of no return. The temple bell chimes, a farewell to the world. The scholar bows his head, accepting his fate. The blade gleams in candlelight, a symbol of sacrifice. Shadows stretch, the mist outside swirling. A whisper, soft, familiar. I will wait for you. The ritual begins. The past fades. The next life awaits.